I would like to keep this a bit more informal and also have an opportunity to let you guys ask us a few questions. I don't want to do the company pitch because we have a booth at 312, so please do visit us after. But what I wanted to do is, the topic of this workshop is the new generation of gold ownership. So what I wanted to do is get a little bit of a feedback and a panel with SCHIFF about how we see the market for owning physical precious metals, how it's changed over the last 40, 50, 70 years, and what we think is the importance of owning precious metals in today's economic environment.
Yeah. So. I could. Well, let me, first of all, gold was not always money. Before we had money, we had barter. I mean, money was an invention. And it was an invention that led to an incredible increase in efficiencies for trade, right? Because prior to money, and when you just have straight barter, it was very difficult. If you, made chairs and you wanted a belt, well, you had to find a guy that made belts who liked your chairs, right? I mean, it's very difficult to do. But man figured out that, hey, we can have one commodity that we can just trade. So if I'm a chair maker, I don't have to trade my chairs. I can have another commodity, and I can exchange that commodity for what I want. And there was a lot of competition over the years, but metal seemed to be the most efficient form of money, and gold was the best metal to use. And gold functioned for money for thousands of years. Governments got involved with paper, but what initially gave paper its value was the gold that stood behind it. I mean, nobody was dumb enough to just accept a piece of paper with a number on it and think it had any value. The reason that people would accept a piece of paper was because it was backed by gold. So you really didn't want the paper, you wanted the gold that was behind the paper. But paper was just a more convenient way for you to transfer your gold. Because if I had a big stack of gold at a blacksmith, rather than lug it around, I could have a receipt of, a piece of currency is basically an IOU for gold. It's that's why, like dollars were Federal Reserve notes. They were notes because they were promises to pay gold. And so paper money made transacting in gold more efficient. It made it easier. Now, eventually governments corrupted that because they took away the gold backing, and we now have just fiat money, which is just pieces of paper backed by nothing. But that doesn't really work as money because you don't have the store of value. One of the reasons that gold works so well as money is because it's a reliable store of value. If I have an ounce of gold today, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, it's an ounce of gold. I mean, people can relate prices, you can have loans, you can contract, you can do all sorts of things with gold because it's a reliable store of value. People are doing that today with dollars or euros or yen, despite the fact that they're not a real reliable store of value in the long run. But in the short run, their store of value is a little bit more reliable, right? The odds of the dollar having value in a week are pretty high. In a year, still pretty good. 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, probably nothing, right? So you can have a short-term store of value, but not a long-term. But one of the things that I think has happened recently to kind of take gold and bring it into the modern era is that now gold can offer all the advantages of paper money without any of the drawbacks, right? Because paper money was just easier to use than gold. And so that's why a lot of people have done that. But what gold does and what gold money is enabling gold to do, and again, and here, you don't have to wait for a government to go back on a gold standard. It doesn't matter what the government does, right? Just like the government runs in the United States, the government operates the post office. But you don't have to use the post office if you don't want to. I can send an email, I could use Federal Express. So just because the government operates one form of mail delivery doesn't mean I'm stuck with it, right? Or I can, they have taxi cabs that are government regulated, or I can use my cell phone and hail an Uber, right? I don't have to use the government product if I find a superior one being offered by the free market. And that's what gold money is doing with gold, because gold money is enabling you to basically opt out of dollars, Canadian dollars, euros, US, whatever you've got, and opt into gold, and opt out of a banking system, right, where you're putting your money in a bank. And when you open up a bank account, you are a creditor of that bank. You are lending money to a financial institution that is probably insolvent. And you're betting that, well, some government guarantee is going to bail you out in the event that the insolvent bank actually fails. In the meantime, they pay you no interest on your deposits while the central bank is cranking out money like it's going out of style, right? So you get no interest rate and you get all this creation of money. Well, what you can do with gold money is you can open up an account and fund it with gold. You can take your dollars or whatever you got and use it to buy gold. And now your gold is held in an account, in a vault rather, by bricks, right? And you can choose on your gold money application where in the world you want your gold stored. And you can diversify your storage. But the beauty of it is your gold is liquid. You have 24-hour a day, 7-day a week access to that gold, right? So you can use that gold as a medium of exchange the same way you could use dollars. And in fact, it's even easier. If I wanted to send dollars to somebody in Australia, it would be very expensive for me to wire somebody dollars. It costs me nothing to transfer a dollar quantity of gold from my gold money account to somebody's gold money account in Australia. So it makes it very easy for me to move purchasing power to transact for goods and services and effect payment in real money. And more importantly, as a payee, if I want to be paid, if I want to perform a service for somebody in Australia and I want to be paid in gold rather than Aussie dollars or Canadian dollars or US dollars, there is a mechanism that allows that payment to be made in gold, right? So I can transact. I don't need government money when I have a more efficient method of transacting and I have a long-term store of value. While my gold is sitting in a Brinks vault, it is not losing value. You know, the amount of gold that is being mined every year is very small compared to the amount of money that central banks create out of thin air. Now, of course, if I want to use my gold, if I want to go to a restaurant here in town and I want to buy dinner, maybe the restaurant owner doesn't want gold, doesn't know anything about gold, right? The restaurant owner just wants to get paid in Canadian dollars so he can pay his rent, so he can pay his workers. What I can do, if I want to, is I can take some of my gold on an application on my phone, and I can load that gold into a debit card, right? And now this is a MasterCard, debit card, and I can take this debit card and I can, buy my dinner. I can, pay for it on this card. So my gold is now liquid. It's not like I just have gold in a vault in my house. I'm carrying gold around in my wallet that I could spend whenever I want. I can either spend it by transferring part of what I own through an app in my cell phone to anybody else. I can give somebody $1 worth of gold, $100 worth of gold, $10,000 worth of gold. I can make that transfer, or I can take some of my gold instantly, have it sold immediately, and load the balance on this card, and I can transact with anybody. Now, what my hope is, ultimately, for the future of gold money, is that as more and more people discover that gold is better money than the dollar or the euro or the yen, not only is it a better and more reliable store of value, but it is actually easier and cheaper to transact in it, to use it as a medium of exchange, to write contracts in gold, to borrow money in gold, to have bonds that pay in gold, to have insurance policies that pay off in gold. People can start utilizing gold, and merchants and eventually people can start pricing their products in gold. This is a gram, this is 5 grams, this is 10 grams. In a global economy, why even use all these currencies? Everybody knows what gold is. Instead of having to worry about what currency you're going to price a product in, just price it in real money, right? This is how much gold this product costs. This is how much gold that product costs. And then if you do that, right, if we start pricing products in gold, then you're going to see that prices go down, right? Governments want us to believe that inflation is some kind of natural thing that happens, like the sun rising, or the sun setting. What is that noise? But it's not, right? In a free market, the natural tendency of prices is to fall, right? As companies become more efficient, as labor becomes more efficient, capital is introduced, the cost of goods goes down. But the government hides that by creating inflation. By destroying the value of our money, prices end up going up that might otherwise have gone down. Then the governments try to convince us that falling prices are a bad thing, that they have to save us from a lower cost of living, right? That the key to economic growth is the things that we want getting more expensive, right? Because if things don't get more expensive, we won't buy anything, right? All this is a bunch of nonsense. But when you start putting yourself on a gold standard and start saving gold and earning gold, right? Then you start to experience the benefits of falling prices, because you'll find over time that the things that you want to buy, if you have gold to pay for them, they keep getting cheaper, right? So you don't experience inflation, you experience deflation. Now, one thing I too want to mention too about the cryptocurrencies. Now, yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask is, when we have an economy that's wrought with these moral hazards and central banks that are dishonest, and the emergence of cryptocurrencies now, what is the common ground between cryptocurrencies and gold?
Yeah, well, there's not much that they actually have in common, but some of the people who buy gold and buy cryptocurrencies, they have something in common. And what they have in common is that they don't trust the current system. They don't, or at least some of them, the people who bought initially. People who buying now, that a lot of them are just buying because they think they're going to make money. They have no idea what's going on, right? They're just gambling. But some of the people that got in early, that really, that were attracted to cryptos as an alternative, not as a get-rich-quick scheme, but as an actual alternative to a monetary system that they didn't like, right? That's where the commonality is. But the problem is that the cryptocurrencies, whether it's Bitcoin or any of them, in many ways are no better than any of the other fiat currencies that are being issued by government. The problem with paper money is that it has no intrinsic value. It's just a piece of paper, and they can create it at will. And you'll find the same flaw in any of the cryptocurrencies, right? None of these cryptocurrencies have any value. I mentioned at the beginning that money was a creation of an invention where it was a commodity that could be accepted in exchange for all other commodities. So money in and of itself always had value, right? It didn't just exist as money. Gold was valuable long before it became money. It was because it was so valuable that it was able to be money. Now, it had other properties that made it more, suitable to be money than, different commodities that also have value. But none of the cryptocurrencies have any value whatsoever. I mean, you can exchange it for somebody as long as they'll take it, but why are they taking it? Because they want to exchange it with somebody else. There is an actual use for gold. People can have gold and use it, whether it's in jewelry, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in electronics, aerospace. There are all sorts of actual uses for gold. There are no uses for Bitcoin other than me giving it to somebody else. And somebody's willingness to accept it is purely predicated on their belief that somebody else will accept it, which is the only thing that backs any fiat currency. It's the confidence that people will want it. But confidence can go away, right? And it does go away. I mean, there hasn't been a paper currency that has withstood the test of time. Every fiat currency that has ever been created has become worthless. Now, we have some currencies today that aren't worthless yet, right? But you go back and look at currencies that were around 200 years ago, 300 years ago, they're worthless, right? But the gold is not worth. The gold still has value. You could dig up a ship. If the ship sunk 500 years ago, every ounce of gold that you recover still has value, right? The paper money, I mean, well, obviously it can't even survive the elements, but assuming it could, it would have no value, other than maybe as a collector's item if it was, if they didn't have any. So the cryptocurrencies, unfortunately, were a distraction. I think a lot of people, obviously, if you bought cryptocurrencies early on, you made a lot of money, and if you sell, congratulations. But you only made that money because a lot of people who bought later at higher prices are going to be left holding the bag. Because I do think that people who jumped out of the dollar or the euro or the yen and bought Bitcoin or any of the other ones, they jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. That the real alternative to all these fiat currencies is gold. And, I remember, too, initially when people were telling me about Bitcoin, and I was too stupid to buy it, or too smart, however you want to look at it. But when Bitcoin was $1, $2, $3, people used to tell me, look, Peter, you can't buy a cup of coffee with gold, but I can buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. Well, now I can buy a cup of coffee with gold, and you can't buy one with Bitcoin. Why? Because it's too expensive to buy coffee with Bitcoin because of the transaction cost, but I can use my gold through gold money, and I can buy a cup of coffee for a lot less money, right, than you can with Bitcoin. But, of course, the important thing is I know what my gold is worth. I can confidently have gold stored in my gold money account take a vacation, I go to sleep, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm confident that my gold is still going to have a lot of value. I'm confident it'll have more value in 10 years than it has today. Nobody could say that with any degree of confidence for any of the cryptocurrencies. Yeah, they could have more value or they could have no value. It's all a gamble. But money can't be a gamble. It has to be a reliable store of value, and it can have massive volatility. I mean, Bitcoin can change price 10% any given day, and it often does. You don't see that in the price of gold. If gold moves by 1% in a day, it's a huge move. Gold is actually less volatile than the stock market. So gold doesn't have a lot of day-to-day volatility, and long-term, it's, you can pretty much price everything in terms of gold. So I think the fiat currencies are a distraction. One of the things, though, about gold money, it does give you the ability, if you want to trade in cryptocurrencies, you can use your cryptocurrencies to buy gold, which I would advise. If you want to trade it, there's a lot of action there, right? Just like going to Las Vegas, right? Or trade in any kind of commodity. Ultimately, you could trade Bitcoin because it's volatile. Anything that's volatile, you can trade. You can look at a chart. You just have to understand that you're playing with fire, because ultimately the market could crash. But between now and then, who knows how much money you might make trading it. And you can do that on the Bitcoin platform, on the gold money platform very efficiently. But know that you're gambling, right? The money that you can't afford to lose should not be in any cryptocurrency. That should be in gold.
You mentioned actually that gold has many use cases. So I don't know if many people know this, but most of the gold that's mined in the world is actually used to produce jewelry. What do you think is the benefit of owning gold in a physical form in jewelry versus owning it in coins or bars or something like that?
Yeah, I sell a lot of physical gold to people. Not only do I have people own gold at Gold Money, but I also have people through my company, SCHIFF Gold, which is actually owned by Gold Money. But we recommend that people have gold physically in their hands, in their possession, so they don't have all their gold in one place. But another way to store some of your physical gold is in jewelry. Because if I have gold in my safe, it's in my safe. I'm not getting any benefit other than, the peace of mind that I know it's there and the insurance policy of having gold. But other than that, on a day-to-day, I'm not doing anything. But I've got a ring, I've got a watch, you can have gold. The problem is when you try to buy jewelry that has gold in it, you might pay $2,000 and get a piece of jewelry that has $200 worth of gold. So it's a very inefficient way to buy gold. But there's a new company that was created by Gold Money called Monet. And what's unique about Monet is the jewelry is all made from 24 karat gold. And Monet retails it for 20% above its melt value. Now, a typical coin, Maple Leaf or Cougarand, might sell for about 5% above the melt value, right? So, should you buy $100,000 or $1 million worth of gold in the form of jewelry? No, right? Because you're going to pay too much. But $10,000, $20,000, because let's say you were going to buy a necklace for $1,000 that has $100 worth of gold. Why not buy a necklace for $1,000 that has $800 worth of gold? Because you spent the same $1,000, except now you got $800 worth of gold. So you only really paid $150 for the chain, for the gold, for the necklace. The rest is real gold. And of course, that premium is still there. You could still, sell that in the future. Somebody may well give you more than the melt value of that jewelry because the jewelry has some value, right? You can wear it. I'm not wearing it today. I have some solid gold cufflinks. My wife has a lot of Monet jewelry. My wife wears it all the time. She gets so many compliments. She has thick chains, big choker. She's got chains here. It's very unique looking jewelry, but she wears it all the time. So, obviously gold that I have in my safe, it's just sitting there. But if you can buy it instead of some other jewelry that you might otherwise have bought, you kind of kill two birds with one stone. You want to buy your wife a present, buy her some Monet jewelry. Or if you're, or if you want, if you're a late woman, you want your guy to get you something, at least you get Monet jewelry. If you break up with him, you don't want to wear it anymore, you can sell and get your money back. What is used jewelry worth? Not very much. But used Monet jewelry is always going to be worth the melt value of his gold. In fact, what you could do is if you have a current boyfriend, he could buy you a necklace made of Monet, and then when you get a new guy, you can send it in, they melt it down, and they make another one with the same gold, right? So you don't have to have the same
So one of the beautiful things about Monet is that you can sell the jewelry that you buy from Monet back to Monet. At any point in time, you're able to exchange or sell it right back to the same company. There aren't a lot of designer jewelry brands that I know that would buy their own product back. So if you're interested in learning more, please visit us. You'll learn about gold money, you'll learn about SCHIFF gold, you'll learn about Monet. Thank you.
Yeah, and also too, the price changes. It changes all the time because it's sold off the spot price of gold, right? It's not sold off, there's just a markup for the design fee. But you go to Neiman Marcus or Saks Fifth Avenue, and these jewelry is way up here. The price never changes, although it's always on sale. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's because they jack it up and then they put it on sale. But it doesn't matter what happens to the price of gold. The price of gold can double, and it's such a small percentage of the value of the jewelry that doesn't even matter. But here, when you buy Monet jewelry, it's all gold. Gold is the most important determinant of it. And even though it's designed and it's nice and it's pretty, you're paying such a small amount for that work, for the expense of creating it and the design of making it. So it's a great way, and I encourage people, put some of your gold in form of jewelry. And that's where gold chains started. People used to wear their gold in a chain, and it was links, and you would break off a link and spend it. Then you can close it back up, And if it became really small, then it was a bracelet, right? And then a ring, So this is the tradition that gold had.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, we out of time? Is that why it's at 3?
We're out of time.
All right, so we're going to be at the booth. I've got a workshop later today. I'm going to be talking about the economy, the U.S. economy, bigger picture stuff, investing with me.